Based on Mr. Smith's recommendation, all of the members of the Equity Committee will be reading Black Like Me this summer. We also wanted to share with you some of the other resources that we'll be exploring as we move through the summer. So we hope you'll take a look and read, watch, or listen along with us. Thanks.
I'm very much enjoying reading Black Like Me. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith, for the recommendation. I'm going to read Black Like Me once I am finished with the book that I'm currently reading, which is entitled Me and White Supremacy: Combat Racism, Change the World, and Become a Good Ancestor. This book helps you understand what white supremacy is and how you as an individual can combat that. A couple of examples of the chapters in this book. What is white supremacy? Who does this work for? What will you need to do in order to do this work? Anti-Blackness, racial stereotypes, and cultural appropriation. Allyship, power, relationship, and commitments. All of these things are about how to do the work. Okay, and that's something that we've all committed to doing, not just on the equity team, but as Americans, we are doing work. This book is going to help with that.
I'm Winnie Host. I will be reading Black Like Me, and I also recommend you watch the documentary 13th, which you can find on Netflix. This riveting film shows how even though the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the United States, the institution of slavery has lived on through Jim Crow, the war on drugs, and our present overflowing prison system. 13th will reframe your view of recent American history and inspire you to want to help create change in our country.
Ben Danson here. I'm planning to do a lot of reading this summer, and I'm looking forward to reading Black Like Me by John Howard Griffin, along with, I hope, many of you. But right now, I'm getting through a great book called The Blood of Emmett Till. This is by Timothy B. Tyson, and it's about the murder of a young black boy in 1955, whose murder and the aftermath really helped to spark the civil rights movement. So I plan to educate myself on race matters a lot this summer, and I hope to share some of this reading with you as we go forward.
This summer, I'm specifically going to be looking for books that I will use to help me decide some questions that I've got about whether or not To Kill a Mockingbird, which is a core component of our 9th grade English classroom curriculum, is actually a book that we should still be teaching. Many people question whether a book that is seen largely through the eyes and perspective of a heroic white man is a book that is appropriate still in 2020 to be teaching. So 2 books that I'm going to be reading are The Book of Unknown Americans by Cristina Enriquez. That's a novel about 9 families that come to America. They end up living together in a dilapidated building in Delaware together, but they all come from different countries in South and Central America, looking for a better life for their future generations of their families. So it's sort of an exploration of immigration. The other book that I'm interested in reading is called All American Boys, and it is about 2 young men, one black, one white, whose lives are forever changed because of an act of extreme police brutality. So that seems like a very timely, contemporary book to read in relationship to Kill a Mockingbird.
Hi, this is Marietta Rizzone. I just wanted to let you know what I was currently reading. I'm reading a book called The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. I'm reading on my Kindle, so this is sort of what it looks like. Anyway, it's a book that was published in 1963, right around the time of the Civil Rights Movement in the United States. And it was also written on the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. And it's a series of 2 letters written by James Baldwin. The first one is to his nephew. The second one is about his relationship to his religion. But basically, this book deals with a lot of issues regarding racial discrimination. And James Baldwin basically in this book is urging people to fight against racial discrimination. So I'm really enjoying that, especially the first essay with the one he gives to his 14-year-old nephew.
Hello. The book that was recommended to me by a friend and fellow educator is entitled Breathe, A Letter to My Sons by Imani Perry. Imani is a professor of African American studies at Princeton, and it is about exactly what it says, a letter from her to her sons. And I'm also looking forward to reading Black Like Me, which was recommended by Mr. Smith this summer. I hope everyone's doing well. Happy reading.
Hey folks, this summer I'll be reading Black Like Me by John Howard Griffin with the PHS Equity Team. In addition, I just finished and would highly recommend Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. And in this case, I recommend the audiobook specifically. It is so creatively done, and the music and audio snippets included completely drive home some of the really key points. Thanks, and happy reading. Or listening. Have a good day.
Hi everyone, Miss Skinner here. Along with the rest of the equity team at Penncresst, I'm really excited to read Black Like Me. I also would highly suggest books like Dear White America and White Fragility if you're looking for places to start to continue your journey of learning about white supremacy and race relations in the United States. Another resource that I really have enjoyed interacting with and listening to isn't a book, it's not an audiobook, it's actually a podcast, and it's called Throughline. It's sponsored and produced by NPR, and it's moderated by a woman named Ruud Abdafallah, and she and her co-hosts really bring history to life, and they talk about our past in order to understand our present and our future. And they do it in such a way that is engaging and gripping and brings context and new knowledge to things that I had never known before. So there's some incredible episodes that you can listen to for free online. If you have the podcast app or Spotify, they're all available there, and they're completely free to listen to.
Hi, everyone. So the first book that I wanted to share with you, I read back in January, and it's right here. It's called Diversity, Inc. by Pamela Newkirk. And in it, she talks about just billions of dollars being poured into corporate America, academia, Hollywood, to improve diversity in these organizations, and how those initiatives have sort of failed and haven't gone where they've wanted to be. And, you know, she gives some reasons as to why that might be and what we need to do to improve. I found it to be very interesting, very eye-opening, and, you know, I would recommend.
Hi, my name is Michelle Kelly, and I recommend this title, Whistling Vivaldi, How Stereotypes Affect Us and What We Can Do. The book is research-based. It's written by Claude M. Steele. The title is Whistling Vivaldi because one of the anecdotal pieces of the book is about a young black man who realizes that if he walks down the street whistling Vivaldi melodies, that he can make comfortable the people around him who may otherwise be behaving in ways that rely on their stereotypes of young black men. I highly recommend the book for any educator. It does go into a lot of research about different stereotypes based on different things. As you can see by the cover, it isn't specifically focused on just race, although that is one of the stereotypes that does get discussed.
The second thing I wanted to share, I just read last week. This is a publication called Well and Good. I read it pretty frequently. And obviously the title struck me. If you're a white woman who wants to help Black, Indigenous, and people of color right now, consider this a required reading. And it was an interview with this woman here. Her name is Iverly Brooks. And she had posted on her Instagram account on June 1st, just, I have that right here, kind of frustration over the recent events. And she was sort of just pouring her heart out and giving advice as to how people who want to help can. I read the interview first before watching the video. And I feel like the video, you know, speaks to all of us. And the interview, you know, was based on that. Very well written. And I appreciated her message as well.
I'm also just finishing up for the second time the Netflix series by Ava DuVernay, When They See Us, based on the Central Park Five, which are really the exonerated five, about the 5 young men who were wrongfully accused of violence in Central Park against a jogger. That happened when I was 22. So what happened then and what's happening now doesn't seem like much has changed. And so I think it's really important to see the context of something that was a huge memory in my experience as a young adult. I think it's a really powerful, important story because it continues to re-emphasize the importance of a justice system that is actually just.
I'm excited to start reading Dear Martin by Nick Stone. A student recommended it to me and said it was about race and relationships and violence and loss. And I'm excited to read it this summer and share it in September with my students.
When I was sick, my nephew gave me a stack of books last year, and my favorite one out of all of them was a book called Kindred by Octavia Butler. It was written in 1979, so it's an oldie but a goodie, and it's about an interracial couple who travels back in time during the Civil War era. I recommend it fully, and my next book I'm excited to read is Black Like Me.